One more Sonic video for the year. Shadow, baby. Woo! Eat your heart out, Luigi! October was really stacked this year, wasn't it? Not only did we get Dragon Ball Sparky Zero, but we also got the return of the best Sonic game, Sonic Generations. Search your feelings, you know it to be true. But not only did we get a remaster of Sonic Gens, it also came with perhaps one of the best Sonic experiences in recent memory, Shadow Generations. I truly cannot express how much of a game changer this is for me. A campaign centered around what Shadow was doing during Generations that delves into his past, and a story that actually takes him seriously and features callbacks to characters who haven't been relevant in over a decade? Just take my money! But enough glazing for now, because it's time to get to the main point of this vid. To celebrate the illustrious year of Shadow the best way I know how to, I'm gonna be looking at all the levels from Shadow Gens and ranking them against each other. This is including both acts. However, I'm not covering the challenge stages, as those are kind of their own thing. The criteria I'm going for these rankings is a level design, aesthetic, and spectacle/wow moments. So I'm gonna be real with you, this is a very hard list to make, just because I genuinely like all these levels. They all blend into each other so seamlessly, it's really hard to choose one above the other. Alas, after pondering my orb for a bit, I think I've come up with my official ranking. Oh, and side note, I have not looked up other people's opinions on the stages, so I have no idea if any of these are going to be controversial or not. Enough rambling though, let's start it off! How poetic. Just like the OG iterations, the last level also happens to be the weakest. As the final stage, it serves as the gateway to fighting Black Doom. Radical Highway just feels kind of empty. One thing I'm not a fan of with Radical Highway in this game is the lack of ground. It just feels like a bunch of random platforms floating in a void, which you could argue coincides with the distorted nature of the Time Eater in Black Doom and whatnot, but I'm still just not a fan of how they went about it here. But my biggest gripe with it is the level design. Now, if you're playing with the Doom Wings turned on, then this stage is pretty normal. Some would even say pretty fun. But without them, then buckle up for a world of hurt. So many times do you see pathways only accessible with the wings, yet you're forced to take the low road crawling through domed soldiers and these goddamn tornadoes. Oh my god, please let me pass! There are also these rotating platforms which go burn in Crisis City for all I care. And there's like a mini boss too, which isn't even a mini boss. It goes down in like 2 homing attacks. Like, what was even the point of that? But with all that said, I still don't think it's a bad stage. Just lesser than all the others. And I'm not taking the theme into account for any of these levels, but this stage's theme is an absolute bop.
Excellent!
I'm so sorry, Radical Highway fans, but it's just simply not as radical as the name suggests. A lot of my complaints from Act 1 can be reused here, with the major complaints still being focused on the Doom Wings, and when playing without them, it is a slog. The main difference between this and Act 1 is the fact that the level is primarily in 3D, which are the levels I tend to prefer. The extra movement in third dimension provides a lot more variety in gameplay that I appreciate, but besides that, it's the same as the last one. The worst part is easily these shielded Doom soldiers walking along this platform that spawn on top of you. God damn it! But hey, for what it's worth, it's still better than the 3DS version. Chaos Island Act 2 is pretty much just one big platforming segment you see scattered throughout the overworld and frontiers, except it's primarily in 2D in this case. Aesthetic-wise, it resembles its in-game counterpart very well, although compared to other stages of this game, I think it looks just a little underwhelming. Although I do like how you go from grasslands to ruins to a lava area throughout. The big gimmick this time around is the Chaos Squid. I know I'm not alone in the sentiment that the squid is just a bit weird to control and does not feel as natural as all the other Doom powers. But even though I'm still not the biggest fan of it, I will concede that it is much more manageable to use in 2D. Otherwise, the stage just feels like it's going through the motions, as nothing too memorable stands out to me. I mean, I could say I don't like these platforms that move up and down, but those segments end so fast that doesn't feel like it's worth mentioning. Next!
Press the A button to jump from rail to rail.
Rail Canyon Act 2 is kind of a level that comes in like the wind and goes out like the wind. Half the stage is just on rails, and while I do like rails from time to time, too much rails make it seem like it's just a wee bit played out. It also feels like it's really short compared to other stages. There are some cool uses of the Chaos powers here, and the evil Thomas the Tank Engine at the end definitely checks out the spectacle box, but it's just kind of by the books otherwise. And now it's time for the other half of Chaos Island. You might begin to see a trend of Act 1's being ranked higher than Act 2's. The very idea of translating a stage from Frontiers always interested me, because unlike other Sonic games, Frontiers is an open zone type game. So the level design would have to be heavily adapted to work as a Generation style level. And I think they did a pretty good job here, barring one slight flaw. The Doom Squid is not optimal, I fear. The timing is pretty precise to launch you high up, and its controls are rather stiff. And if I'm being honest, the Gray Canyon look for most of the stage is not it, but the ruins near the end make up for that. Also, screw this part where you have to make platforms appear while enemies spawn and rush you immediately.
1,001 Grand Canyon jokes. That's about 1,000 more than I thought there were.
If you like rails, then look no further than Rail Canyon Act 1. For almost 90% of this level, you're going to be railing down these rails at the speed of sound. And while that sounds like it can get boring after a while, they do shake it up enough for it to be entertaining. For example, the way you control the rails with these switches. And the chaos control sections are pretty cool. Being able to just stop all the cars behind you. Why do you do this in Sega racing. And I will say, while the canyon itself is just kind of generic, all the rails scattered throughout the little mini bases are pretty cool. And honestly, this has one of my favorite Radical Highway sections where you just skydive through the city. Very epic. In short, if you love Tony Hawk and skateboarding, then you would love to get railed at Rail Canyon.
Hey, big guy, the sun's getting real low.
This isn't a sunset, it's foggy! Okay, let's be honest here. I don't think there's that much people here that like Forces, let alone the 2D Sonic sections. So when I saw that they were including Sunset Heights in this game, I was hoping and praying they would improve it. And to my utter shock and bewilderment, they did. Having all these giant Eggman robots punching the platforms away, but then being able to use chaos control to stop them and keep the platforms safe, very nice. Plus I get to go to the sewers at the end and meet my main man Michelangelo. I mean, honestly, this level is just pretty tight all around. Nothing much to complain about it. I mean, I guess I could say it's weird how my OC is in here. Like, well, what's up with that? I guess he's probably the 3rd generation's tie-in game where he's fighting Solaris and Dark Gaia together, so I can cut him some slack.
This is my kingdom come.
Kingdom Valley is just so smooth, man. The platform acceptance are just so good, offering a perfect amount of challenge. Plus you have the wind rails where you can just use a homing attack and summon them, which is just such a cool idea. It's very small, it doesn't really mean a whole lot, but it's just cool. It also just helps everything flow together. It's just a solid level all around. Plus, we also got a good look at the interior of the castle, which you don't really get to do normally. Kingdom Valley's looking a lot more like Kingdom Peak right now, you know what I'm saying?
None of this is good, Vector. That's why it's called war.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe a stage from Forces is this high. I really think this stage actually achieves what Forces were trying to go for. The whole idea behind Forces was that Eggman took over the world and everything's depressed and sad now. But I feel like in Forces we barely see the effect Eggman has on that world in general. But this stage actually gives me a slight glimpse at what that world actually looks like. Aesthetics wise, this might be one of the best stages of the game. The ruined city with giant Eggman forces walking around. It's just such a cool idea. And plus for the spectacle shot, you get Shadow dodging the punches and running up them like, oh, that's my MC! There is also a fair amount of challenge compared to other Act 1s in this stage, such as the giant robots hucking rocks at you. And you do visit multiple places throughout the city, so you get nice scenery changes every now and then. The only quote-unquote complaint I can think of is that the Radical Highway section was just kind of whatever. Definitely not one of the better ones, but I can forgive that in my heart of hearts. Congratulations, Forces. You done good.
Minions! Tonight, we steal the moon!
Space! If you ever want to know how to make a good Sonic level, consider putting it in space. It seems to work a lot. But yeah, this one's just nuts and butts action the entire time. This technically was the introduction of the Doom Wings, and you actually use them without making them feel essential like Radical Highway. And all the chaos control segments right to stop the platforms and make a pathway, very nice. Good way of teaching the player how to use it. And I mean, just look, man, they brought back the gravity sticks! How could you not like this? Especially when the visuals in the background are just so good! That's it, I've decided. I'm moving to the Space Colony Arc. Wonder if that elevator's still working. Okay, this was a really hard choice because this and number 1 were like dead close. However, I searched through my heart of hearts and decided that this was the answer. For starters, I just want to say that this is probably the only relatively peaceful location in the entire game. Everywhere else is just danger and cities being taken over and chaos and space. This you can actually just relax, calm down, everything's gonna be fine. There's not even a Doom segment to take you away from this serenity. And as far as the level goes, well, let's just say they don't call it Kingdom Peak for nothing. All the separate wind rails you can activate and being able to jump off of them and activate another one at pretty much any time. So much variety the way you can go about the level. And let me tell you, just ramming through a window is pretty gangster. Also, look guys, it's the Eagles! They brought the Eagles back! Now the question is, why don't they fly to the end of the stage? But this also is a stage where the Doom Surf sections came into play. The water segments are pretty fun. It's a nice callback to Shadow's vehicles in 06. And dude, the homage to the mock seed section at the end sends me. Although I will say, Shadow was not moving super fast like how the Crisis City section was designed for Sonic. However, it's still cool. God, I don't know why, but seeing him at the goalpost like this makes me think, damn, if Shadow was in Elden Ring, that game would be over in 5 seconds. Millennia got nothing on him.
I'm gonna go higher! I'm pissing on the moon!
Ladies and gentlemen, I fear the game peaked during the first level. Back in the day, I made a Sonic Generations video where I picked new stages for each of the levels that were in the OG base Sonic Generations. And my pick for Sonic Adventure 2 instead of City Escape was Final Rush. And would you look at that, they did it. They also included Kingdom Valley, so that's also probably why it's so high up. But yeah, it's pretty much everything I could have hoped for. To reiterate what I said in Act 2, space! The amount of detail in the backgrounds and the spectacle moments are just so good. Like when you use Chaos Control against that missile and you're just punching it repeatedly to knock it back. Huh! or even when you encounter Black Doom for the first time and everything starts distorting around you. So cool. Some would say way past cool. But perhaps my favorite thing about this level is how good of a job it does teaching the players the mechanics and Shadow's unique abilities. It very clearly shows the player how to homing attack, how to use chaos control, how to boost, etc. without stopping your progress. Also, look, they brought back the gravity segments. It also does a really good job of portraying to the player that there are multiple routes you can take, with some of them resulting in clearing the stage faster, one of the main components of Sonic levels in general. So it's really good how they teach that fundamental lesson in the first stage. And then we have the Radical Highway section, which while very straightforward, is still super jaw-dropping, especially for the first time. Playing this level really showed me that I was in for a treat with this game. And that's all of them. Honestly, I'm just so happy this game exists. For years, it feels like we've been going through mediocrity with Sonic games. And with Frontiers, we were starting to get there, but I think this is a good new starting point to go off of. It doesn't even need to be the boost formula. All I want is just smart level design and production values worthy of the blue blur. But hey, did I get my rankings wrong somehow? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Now, if you excuse me, I have to go have a little chat with the people behind the Game Awards nominations. So until next time, see ya!